You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
All right, good evening, world. Welcome to Greenie Sports Cards Live. That means it must be Tuesday, 7 p.m. here in the Eastern time zone. We are located, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, the home of the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers, who will take on the vaunted Boston Celtics tonight in a huge matchup. That actually is probably taking place here real soon. So if you're joining us, we appreciate that you're coming to us on your mobile device or other screen while you're taking in that game if you're around this area and interested in great basketball. But we appreciate you joining us again, as many of you have done since late January when we started this enterprise. And you've continued to watch on Facebook and Instagram and the Twitterverse and LinkedIn and Twitch and a number of points in between, including YouTube. And we are really pleased to continue this journey with you as the world's first multi-stream show and live auction for the collectible industry. And we've really enjoyed a whole slew of guests that we've had on lately, players, coaches, influencers from the hobby industry, and so on. And tonight is no exception. We're very excited to welcome in here very, very shortly Sean Stiers, who is the radio voice of the Notre Dame women's basketball team, and as well as a number of other institutions there covering the football team and other Notre Dame and Irish activities. So we'll get to talk to Sean and hear about the juggernaut that is the Lady Irish team out there in South Bend, and continue talking about women's basketball and men's basketball and professional sports, but with that collectible slant to it. So we're going to go ahead and welcome in the man himself, who allows us to do this every week, amongst many other things. Greenie, how are you this evening?
I'm good, Jeremy. I'm good. Another Tuesday, balmy afternoon here in Cleveland, Ohio, but glad to be here.
Glad to be here with you as well. A couple of quick programming notes. We are going to do the live auction tonight at 9 with Alex. Yep. He will be on eBay. You'll want to tune back into the socials for that. But he, instead of Thursday night, which the Cleveland Browns will be taking on the team from out east wearing black and gold on Thursday Night Football. So there will be no auction on Thursday night. It will move to Friday. And the same with the following week, which will be Thanksgiving on Thursday. So Thursday night's auction will move to Friday. And if you haven't seen that, Greenie, people want to participate in that. That's a lot of fun. You jump on eBay. If you're into football, cards, basketball, baseball, all things in between, MMA, boxing, as has been on the mind lately. But Alex starts everything at $2, correct? And you can unlock unlimited shipping for $4.99, and he has a lot of fun. They open packs. They open, talk a little bit about that. What kind of stuff they have rolling on the show?
Yeah, all sorts of things. Every sport, but what he does best is he takes requests. So people come in there and they say they want WNBA or they want Memphis Grizzlies or New York Giants, maybe Tommy DeVito, maybe he's the hot guy now, right? Playing next Thursday. So Alex takes requests and he has boxes and boxes of cards to go through and, has a really good time with that. And then we do the unopened packs. So he will list those and he'll open them live for you. And people enjoy seeing that and the expressions on his face. And when he gets excited hitting a Napoleon Dynamite card or somebody. And um, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a fast pace and he keeps it moving. And, we go at 9 o'clock and those 20-second auctions, they just keep going at you.
For sure. So make sure to tune in with Alex and call your shot, because it is Alex Shot, and he does a tremendous job for Greenie Sports Cards in the auction. But normally we would jump right in with Adam, but we're going to talk to Adam a little bit later about some hobby news. We've got some time with our guest tonight, Sean Byers, who we're going to go ahead and welcome in and talk to Sean about, as we said, Notre Dame and women's basketball. We want to show a quick reminder of what we did this past March with the Notre Dame women's basketball team and why we've grown really fond of that team and the institution, and kind of set the stage showing that a little bit. And then we'll talk to Sean about a little bit about last year's team, but really looking forward to this year's team and what they have going on.
Now, Jeremy, while this is playing, we can tell everybody that we did host an event, a meet and greet with the Notre Dame women's basketball team last year, and we did things much differently than your static conveyor belt autograph session. People that came to this event got to play Pop-A-Shot with Hannah Hidalgo or sit and play a game with KK Bransford. So it was truly an experience that people got to have, more so than just buying a ticket to an autograph session and, like I said, a conveyor belt just moving down the line. So we had a good time with this team, and every one of them enjoyed having us as well.
Yeah, it was a very cool, unique event. We just said everybody walked in, got a card set of the team. They got to hang out with the players, and we'll show a little bit of that video too in a minute when Sean's on with Hannah. It was really cool. But let's go ahead and welcome in Sean Byers to the stage, the voice of the Notre Dame women's basketball team, and covered the Irish as well for a number of other outlets. So why don't we work backwards from the beginning a little bit, Sean, and kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody how you got started in the business and how that led you to Notre Dame.
Oh man, how I got started in the business. That feels like a million years ago at this point. I'm not young. I'm originally, I went to the University of Kansas, and that's kind of where it started, and worked at some small radio stations, and I've been here in South Bend for 24 plus years now at this point, working predominantly in radio, but like you said, with some other outlets as well. Right now I work for a website called irishbreakdown.com. It's an Athlon affiliate. We do a lot of written content and things like that, and we also do our own live podcast every night at 5 o'clock. So you can find us over on YouTube or wherever it happens to be. But in terms of the play-by-play, I'm in my second stint with the women's basketball team. I called the first national championship all the way back in 2001 and did that for, I think, 8 years in that stint. And then there was a little bit of a radio rights kind of flip here in town, and some other guys did it for a few years. And I'm in year 5 now in stint number 2, having a good time. Been to the Sweet 16 the last 3 years. And, we were talking before we started this thing, the Final Four was in Cleveland last year. It would have been a lot of fun if we would have been there in Cleveland for that. But hopefully the road takes us to Tampa this year, where the Final Four is.
That's right. And Jeremy, I'll tell you, our families have a tremendous background in radio and play-by-play. I've shared this before. So now that we have Notre Dame on, so back in, not sure the exact year, I'll have to ask my dad, but Notre Notre Dame played Ohio University in the NCAA tournament. Austin Carr was playing for Notre Dame at that time, still holds the record for most points in that game. And my dad was on the play-by-play for that game for the Ohio
Oh, wow.
Bobcats.
Very cool. Very cool.
And Jeremy's dad was the voice of the Cleveland State Vikings for over 20 years.
Man, radio in the blood there, huh?
That's right. And
Radio's in blood.
Kind of part of the things where we reach out to people that we have familiarity with, and, you know, also having a tie to the Notre Dame women's team with the NIL that we did last year was a perfect time to have you on. And there's a big game this week that the Irish travel to USC to face Juju Watkins.
It's going to be an exciting one. I think that at least, you know, from my perspective and maybe from a fan perspective as well. I mean, we've all been looking forward to this one for a while since it was announced. I mean, you've got two of the top 5 teams in the country, and you've got two of the, you know, who were the 2 best freshmen in the country last year, and Juju Watkins, of course, for USC, and Hannah Hidalgo for Notre Dame, and just, you know, everything else, you know, everyone else around him. I mean, you've got another All-American point guard with Olivia Miles. You've got, you know, another great player in Sonia Citron. And, you know, if you guys have been following the team, I'm sure you know what Kate Koval, the 6'5" freshman, has been doing so far this season. So looking forward to it. I think it's going to be just a great, you know, early season matchup that we're going to get this weekend out in Los Angeles.
One of the big takeaways I had, Sean, in the time we were fortunate to spend with the team back in March, we had heard about Hannah. We had saw her game a little bit. As an impressive a ball player as she is and continuing to evolve, we were really impressed with her presence and her acumen and her media savvy. Sean Crawford and I got to sit down with her and talk to her for about 15 minutes, and she was incredibly impressive. It's just the poise this young lady has, and the way she was able to handle, would have been about 19 years old at that point, incredibly impressive. And that seems to be indicative of the team itself and the way they carry themselves.
No, absolutely. I think when Neil Ivey, you know, obviously the head coach, when she goes out and recruits, one, she's developing a relationship with all these players she's recruiting, but she's also finding out just about the personality and the mindset that they have. And I think that just across the board, the kind of players that she brings in all fit that bill that you're talking about with Hidalgo. And just from a media standpoint, I mean, they're, you know, when they get here to Notre Dame, because it is such a high profile program, they're all under the spotlight quite a bit. You know, there's a press conference after every game. There's throughout the season, you know, there's always something going on, and they all handle themselves just so well, no matter what kind of situation they're put into, whether it's on the court or off the court.
Yeah, here this was a lot of fun. We had this Papa Shot at our event last year, and watching Hannah just interact with the kids, and like Jeremy said, the acumen that she has and her body language. I mean, she knows what she's doing, and she is a star off the court as well as she is on the court. And like you said, now the rest of that team, watching what Olivia Miles did in her first game back with a triple-double, I mean, and you said in the freshman Kate, and I watched, she's a double-double machine.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even play in the first game. And I think that they're starting, I know there's only a few games, 4 games deep, 4-0, but they're starting to hum a little bit there.
Yeah, and I mean, the scary thing is they don't even have the full team. They haven't had the full team because of the fact that, unfortunately, they've already gone through so many different injuries. Maddie Westbeld, one of the forwards, she came back for her 5th year. She's got a foot injury that she announced about, a month and a half or so, I think, before the season started. Hopefully, she's hoping that she's going to be back next month sometime. Liza Carlin, who transferred in, another forward from Marquette, she kind of hurt her foot in the exhibition game, and so she's been in a walking boot for a while. She's going to be back at some point. And then Leah Tu King, who transferred in from Pittsburgh, you talk about a walking double-double. She averaged a double-double last year at Pitt, and she had back-to-back double-doubles, and she hit her head last week against James Madison, and she missed this past weekend's game when we were out at Lafayette, but they hope to have her back this season. So, I mean, you've got three really prominent players right there who have, I didn't even mention, so you mentioned Sonia Citron, the fact that she missed the season opener. So that's four who have all missed at least a little bit of time so far, and they're still firing on all cylinders right now, even without a full complement. Like they've essentially had either two players or three players available off the bench in these first 4 games of the season. And so once they get to the full complement, it's going to be really scary. It's already pretty scary. But hopefully Leah Chu's back this weekend, because you can sure use her out there against a really good USC team, of course.
They have a big schedule this year too, and we were talking. We have USC coming up, but UConn comes to town in December, and I know that you don't like to look ahead at the schedule, but we do, because we're fans, and Paige Beckers and Coach Auriemma. I mean, what a marquee game and a marquee schedule Notre Dame plays. I mean, it's got to be up there with one of the toughest schedules in the country.
Well, and I think that's one of the great things. I mean, I think you probably see some of the elite men's basketball teams doing it. Like my alma mater, Kansas. They played North Carolina last, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago now. They played Michigan State just this past weekend, and Duke and Kentucky. Like those teams will play some. But that's one of the great things about these elite women's programs, is they're not afraid to play each other. Like Notre Dame is going to play USC this weekend. They're going to play, as you said, UConn, and then a week apart from UConn, they're also going to play Texas in the ACC SEC Challenge. And that's obviously not even including, you've got a Final Four team in North Carolina State that'll be coming up on the conference schedule this year. So it's a lot of fun, and I like the way that Niele Ivey really has picked up where Muffet McGraw left off. Just in terms of being willing to challenge themselves, like keeping the UConn series going was a big priority, and just getting this USC game back on again. When you've got two of the biggest young stars in the game, and you're both top 5 teams, and you're willing to play a home and home, in consecutive years, I think that's a really big thing.
Sean, you mentioned you having called the championship season in your first stint there. The prominence of women's basketball has really taken off in particularly the last 2 years, and there's some signature players in that. Talk a little bit about the first pass through, 10, 15 years ago and beyond. How has the game changed, and how has the women's sport now perceived as a signature difference from when you kind of went through that in the first stint?
Well, obviously just the biggest difference culturally is back then there was no social media, and social, like back in 2001, calling that championship when Niele Ivey played for Notre Dame, winning that championship, there was no social media back then. And you would have some games on TV, but there's just so much more TV exposure now. Social media has been a big part of that. I go back to 2018 when Arike Ogunbowale, and again, this, that was still, I wasn't quite doing it again, at that point, but, just watching and covering it from where I was, like when Arike hit those 2 shots in the Final Four to win the semifinal, to win the national championship, to me, like you might remember, she went on Dancing with the Stars after that. How many women's I don't know if you guys ever watched Dancing with the Stars, but my wife was a big devotee, so maybe I'll use that as an excuse. So I watched some of that. I don't remember ever a women's college basketball player being on a show, that on broadcast TV that gets that kind of exposure. That was a big deal for Arike to go on a show like that. And so really, I'm not going to pinpoint like that as like the moment, but still, I do feel like that was a really big growth moment, because like those clips of her, you might remember, like those calls from those two, like they were viral, they were everywhere for a long time. And it really felt like that's definitely a growth point, from even just 6 years ago to where we are right now. And I mean, and obviously Caitlin Clark was, has been just such a huge part of the TV explosion and popularity as well. But, like my son is 28 years old now, and he grew up in that first stint going to all those Notre Dame women's basketball games. And one of the things that the women's basketball program did back then, and I'm sure a lot of other women's programs around the country did this as well, they targeted young families in terms of making, being able to attend games affordable for young families. And, and they got young families in. And I think as you look now at, other people, whether they're men or women who are around that same age as my son is now, like mid-20s to in their 30s, who've essentially grown up with the sport and, appreciate the sport for what it is. I think that you're seeing, just a lot more overall interest just from some simple things like that as well.
Yeah, no question. And I know we have you a short time, but we do want to ask you this as well. We're Ohio guys, we're Buckeyes, so Marcus Freeman is somebody that we've followed. And where do you see this Notre Dame football team going? I mean, they've had some big wins. Where do you see them going into that top 12 playoff?
So neither one of you guys are Ohio State fans then, right? Is that what I'm taking? Like, so I can say whatever I want about Ohio State?
You can say whatever you want.
I'm kidding.
As long as they're not playing that team up north.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I tell you what, I think when you look at the top 12, and I mean, you could even go a little bit deeper than that. There's not a dominant Georgia or Alabama, like we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. There's not that one team that is clearly head and shoulders better than everybody else. And, like even Ohio State, while Ohio State is still good, I don't feel like they're quite maybe at the echelon that they've even been for the last few years. Don't at me, Ohio State fans. But so I guess my point is, I feel like this playoff with this 12-team format this year is going to be wide open. So, like to answer your question, I feel like anybody who's in the playoff has got just as good a chance as anybody else to win the whole thing. And, like Notre Dame, yeah, there've been some ups and downs with the offense, but like if you look at Riley Leonard, even though he doesn't have a ton of touchdown passes, the guy's accounted for 25 total touchdowns and has thrown just 4 interceptions this season, and like they're running the ball for over 200 yards a game, like 215 yards a game, and they've got an elite defense, so I think that's the biggest thing with them is that defense is going to keep them in any game that they play, specific to the college football playoff field. So I think it's going to be really competitive, and I think they've got just as good a chance as anybody to at least be playing in the championship game at the end of the season.
And one last thing I will ask you, now that they have expanded this playoff to 12 teams, is there a chance in the future that Notre Dame joins a conference?
No.
There you go.
Well, there you have it.
That's the long and the short. The only thing that's going to force Notre Dame into a conference is, if they get into a situation where they get left out of the playoff multiple years in a row and they feel like being in a conference is going to give them a better chance to be in the playoff. But the thing that, Jack Swarbrick is obviously no longer the athletic director, but the things that he always said was, we need access to the playoff. We need a TV contract. They just renewed the TV contract with NBC that's going to pay them more than twice as much as what they were getting before. And they need a spot for the Olympic sports, the basketballs and the baseballs and the softballs of the world. They needed a conference, for them to play in. They've got all 3 of those teams, and right now they control their own destiny. They win these next 2 games, they're in the playoff. So there's really no, I've said this a lot, Notre Dame being in a conference does not solve any problems for Notre Dame as of right now. Like, it might theoretically solve some problems for everybody else who thinks that, Notre Dame needs to be in a conference just like us and that kind of thing. But there's no problem that Notre Dame being in a conference solves. I think everybody's happy, including the people from the college football playoff. If Notre Dame is involved in it, what difference does it make if they're in a conference or not? I think they're completely happy with that.
Well, there you go. Sean, you've been more than gracious with your time this evening. We know you've got a really busy schedule. We appreciate you joining us. I will give a shameless plug for the day job with Odyssey. If you're in this area, you can catch the Notre Dame women's basketball games and hear Sean on the Odyssey app. So make sure to download that. And Sean, real quick, let everybody know where else they can find you on the socials and in your articles.
Sure. My Twitter is just my name, Sean Stiers, just like you see there on the screen. If you at Sean Stiers, you can find me there. And then, like I said, I write for irishbreakdown.com. We do a live YouTube show at 5:00 Eastern time on the Irish Breakdown channel, Monday through Thursday. And of course, you can find that on, your typical podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts as well in the audio format. So there you go.
Fantastic. And we look forward to the rest of this Notre Dame season, basketball and football. So go Irish. We will say that.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Cool. Thank you, Sean.
Likewise. Thank you, Sean. All right. Our thanks to Sean Stiers for some terrific insight there from South Bend and Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So who knew, Greenie, that you and I would be watching this much women's basketball and having a rooting interest in Notre Dame after all these years. So you never know. You never know. But speaking of rooting interests, we want to congratulate the breaking news here. Cleveland's own, the Guardian, Stephen Vogt. He was named Manager of the Year in the AL. So that's very, very exciting.
And as he should be, Jeremy. I mean, what a year that the Guardians had. And, we've talked to countless media personnel over the last year, and not one of them predicted to do what they did this year. And, the Yankees did beat them, but they arguably gave the Yankees a run for their money. And a couple swings the bat or swings and misses by Yankees. And, the Guardians are the ones playing the Dodgers. So, he had a terrific year to go from Terry Francona to Stephen Vogt, and the special year they had was pretty tremendous. And, not that we get votes, but I would have voted for Stephen Vogt.
Voted for Vogt. And then speaking of giving teams a run for their money, last year in the playoffs, the NBA playoffs, the Cleveland Cavaliers gave the Boston Celtics as much as they could handle in any of their series, and that was out without some key pieces. Jared Allen was out. Donovan Mitchell was not himself. Darius Garland was not himself. And tonight, the 15-0 Kenny Atkinson-led Cleveland Cavaliers go off to Boston, which I believe that game is tipping off right about now, if it hasn't already. And they get an early season test to see what the future may hold.
It has tipped off. They're down early on one of the most hideous floors you have ever seen, bright green. But either way, 15-0 is impressive as it gets. And whether they win or lose tonight, this start has been remarkable, much resembling the 22 games that the Indians won several years ago. It's been a lot of fun to watch these first 15 games. So, kudos to the Cleveland Cavs.
It's been a lot of fun. They nailed the coaching hiring as well. The biggest beneficiary of this, besides the fans, the Cleveland Browns themselves should be thanking the Cleveland Cavaliers for this run, because normally in this town, it's a Browns town, it's a football town. The torches are not out like they have been. There's some rumblings and people are sort of just, indifferent to the Browns, which is actually, we've talked about this previously. Indifference is worse than anger from a fan standpoint, because it means people are checking out and they don't care. And the Guardians gave this town a lot of joy. The Cavs are continuing that joy. And this still may always be a Browns town, and it'll be a sleeping giant when they figure it out. But man, this has been a great run for the Cavs.
Mm-hmm. And Adam will be able to talk about this too. The winning is very conducive to the hobby, and we have people asking for Darius Garlands and Donovan Mitchells and before, Stephen Kwan and Nailers and, Jimenez, who might not have been at the plate, is probably the best second baseman in, Cleveland history, really, when you want to nail it down. That guy can play some second base. And,
So could Robbie Alomar, though. But
I know, and I know, and I hesitated, but I mean, either way, we're blessed to have had both of these guys play second base for
sure.
our Cleveland teams. But winning is great for our hobby. And that's easy to say. I know that, but people buy their hometown teams, kind of regardless whether they win or lose, but really nobody's asking us for any Cleveland Browns cards. And that includes Myles Garrett, and Nick Chubb, who's just coming back, but they do ask for the Cavs and Evan Mobley, and I'm certain they're going to ask for Ty Jerome cards very soon because that guy's playing lights out, and hopefully he'll have some cards in Cavaliers uniforms soon. But the winning is helpful to our business, and we appreciate when they win too, because that is very helpful.
For sure. Well, that's a good segue into bringing Adam on as well, because as much as we like talking sports, we really want this program to have more of a slant for the collectibles and media, because there are plenty of other outlets to get your sports fix and your sports talk, but we want to be a place where people can learn about the hobby and the collectibles. So let's go ahead and bring our resident expert here at Greenie Sports Cards, Adam, and say good evening.
How's it going, everybody? And Greenie, you couldn't be more accurate. I know we're a fan of green here, but that court is absolutely atrocious. I can't even see what's going on. But anyway, yeah, like you guys said, winning certainly brings a different vibe to the hobby, regardless of what sport it is or where you're at. Ellie De La Cruz was super hot. I'm sure Tommy DeVito cards are going to be selling all week long until he goes out there and stinks it up for the Giants. But with that said, we've got some fun releases coming out this week, starting off with our 2024 Topps Gilded collection, which is just a different version of the Topps Chrome. It's a more expensive product. It's got, I believe, a shorter checklist. It's got a shorter checklist. It's only 150, but it's all the biggest names in the game, and there's Hall of Famers in it, rookies in it, and there's not much to it outside of, hitting the different refractors, and I believe every card is at the very least a refractor. And, there's only 2, 4, 6 different parallels for the base set. The lowest numbered one being out of 75. The autographs in this set are absolutely amazing. It's anywhere from Hall of Famers to rookies, and those are all super short printed also. I believe I looked and I saw, let me see if I'm correct on this, but they do cut autos in this, I believe. And as soon as I can, let me see if I can find it. I might be lying. Let me see here. Yeah, I am lying. Different product. But anyway, there's gold framed Hall of Famers autographs in it. Gilded cut signatures. There it is, cut signatures. You can get cut signature of Amelia Earhart, Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Dwight Eisenhower, George H.W., Hannes Wagner, John Adams. I'm sure that's not our John Adams. But Napoleon Bonaparte and many other ones. Thomas Jefferson. And then there's the Gilded Champions list, which is all just World Series champions. Anybody from David Ortiz and Jeter to Clayton Kershaw, Barry Larkin, Ozzie Smith, and the list goes on. But the most exciting one of the week is going to be Panini Flawless Football, which is, of course, no cheap product whatsoever. It's one suitcase, and it comes with 10 cards in it. There's 2 boxes per case and 1 pack. So all the base cards have a diamond in it. The lowest numbered or the highest numbered base card you can get is out of 15. And there's 2 different 101s. There's a diamond black and a platinum. The checklist is only 70, and it looks like it's all current players. And then there's a legends list that goes from 71 to 95, and then the rookies from 96 to 115. So, but the big ones in this is the autographs. And I think this is where I was seeing the autograph that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, there's a flawless cut autograph of Robin Williams in this. It's a 1-of-1, which is just crazy. I mean, that's
Comedian Robin Williams?
comedian Robin Williams.
Really?
Yeah, so that's pretty sweet. I mean, and he's the only I'm assuming that's who it is because it says Robin Williams 101, and there's not a team next to it or anything. And the only other one that doesn't have a team next to it would be Pete Rozelle, who we all know was a commissioner. But the other cut autos are Walter Payton, Pat Summerall, Jim Brown, Sammy Baugh, Lamar Hunt, George Halas, Paul Brown, Franco Harris, Chuck Noll, and Al Davis. And then you, of course, have your Hall of Fame and
That's an impressive lineup.
Yeah. I mean, those are naturally going to be super crazy pulls. There's, what was that? 15 people that are in the cut autos list. But, there's several different autographs to get into it. It doesn't give the exact breakdown of, here we go. So you'll get 6 autographs, 2 memorabilia cards, 1 gem card, and then 1 additional memorabilia or gem card. So, I mean, it looks like these boxes, last year's boxes you can buy for like $4,000, which is just insane. We don't do a lot of ripping, and this certainly won't be one of ours, but I know this is one of the hottest products of the year. With the different diamonds and stones they put in the cards, it's always a beautiful product. I've been one to criticize Panini over the years, but this really is the creme de la creme. And, it's still somewhat affordable comparatively speaking to, Topps, the high-end Topps one that's evading my memory at the moment. But, it's the creme de la creme. I mean, the patches are always amazing in it. They even have a rookie cleat autograph, which has like a piece of the shoe in it, which is crazy. But then something else that's coming out this week is the 2024 Panini 3-count WWE checklist. So to fall in line with all the other Panini, like 1 for football, and I think it's 1 and 2 and 3 and out or something like that for baseball. But there's only 3 cards per hobby pack. There's only 1 pack per box. And, there's a base set. The lowest numbered one will be out of 25. And that checklist is up to 200. But the autos, are where this set is. I mean, you don't buy this box for the base set. You buy it for the autos, and you can see there the printing plate signature autos, and there's all different ones. There's Shamrock, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Hitman, Stone Cold, Road Dogg, Mankind. This is just
I'll tell you, Adam, what a lot of people are going to say, if Haley, if you scroll back up to the top, a product like right there, the Undertaker, keep going up to the first. There you go. It looks like a sticker, right? And people are going to spend this kind of money on a product like this. Listen, we understand how difficult it is to get these cards into these athletes' hands, no matter what sport or anything. But I don't know how you charge those types of money without giving them on-card autographs. I know it's not our decision, and it's not, but that's part of what we have to do is talk about these products, and that's going to be a lot of feelings that people have.
It's definitely sticker autos. I mean, at least in the 2 that they have there, the Undertaker and then the Tiffany Stratton. But one thing that this product will bring to the table is going to be the downtown for. So we know how crazy. Yeah, we know how crazy everybody goes for downtowns. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of do downtowns for WWE because they're not like City, you know what I mean? Unless there's I don't know. I guess the Miz
Maybe
would
their
be in Cleveland.
hometowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they
Or
show
where the matches
Bianca,
are. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, they show Bianca Belair, and I'm assuming from the banjo and the harmonica, she's probably from Nashville or somewhere country, but, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's really a shame. And I mean, if I'm an investor into cards, I certainly stay away from sticker autographs because years down the line.
But they are a necessary evil. And
oh, absolutely.
The caveat to that is there's just no autographs, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to have sticker autographs, or you're going to have no autographs. And I know that people want to have these athletes autographs, or
Sure.
So before we let you go, Adam, I sent Haley a link to bring up. I know this product came out a few weeks ago, but the Paul Skeens debut patch that is kind of a big deal, and people put the big bounty on that right now, specifically the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I think we were sitting in the office the other day when it actually popped up that the Pittsburgh Pirates said, we want to make an offer to get this card in our stadium, and we want to show it to people. And they offered, and it probably says there, and I can't see it, but a pair of season tickets for 30 years, meet and greets with Paul Skeens. What's that?
The pair of season tickets is behind home plate for 30 years.
Yeah, behind home plate. And listen, I've heard people say, but it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I get it. But the Dodgers come to Pittsburgh, and the Cardinals come to Pittsburgh, and the Cubs and the Guardians. Like, every team comes there, and you're going to be able to see Ohtani from behind home plate, or you're going to be able to see name your pitcher. Judge. You're going to see Clase throw 100 miles an hour from behind home plate. What we were talking about that we thought would be really cool is you get to host a softball game at PNC Park with, I don't know, 30 people or whatever it was. Like
that's awesome.
That's cool. I think I saw Darren Ravel did some math. I don't know how accurate, but pretty close. I mean, he's a pretty smart guy that says this is worth about $2.4 million, what the Pirates are offering on the market and the inflation, whatever, over 30 years. And listen, we've seen all these, right? We've seen all these big bounties, and we've seen these big cards sell on Golden Auction.
But like then his
I don't think is this $1 million card? Like, no. Ken Golden came out and said, "Talk to me before you do anything, and we'll get you enough money to pay your college." And listen, maybe. The kids' college, and then you could have extra money to get a meet and greet with Skeens. Sure. But that's not $1 million worth. I mean, that's a couple $100,000, which is, at the end of the day, I get it. That patch is on his jersey that he wore in his first ever game. Really cool. Really cool. But we've all seen the pitchers and their lives, and Steven Strasburg is the biggest example there is. You can spend a whole lot of money on a pitcher.
Yeah.
Who can?
Yeah. Whoever invests into that card, short of what the Pirates are giving up, come on over. We got a whole bunch of stuff we'd love to sell you for an investment purposes. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And listen, the guy's good. He was the rookie of the year. And barring injury, he's going to have a nice career. But it's unrealistic to think that every pitcher that comes out like this is going to be the next Cy Young.
They're not Clayton Kershaw, Adam Wainwright to last for 15, 20 years. Look at Corey Kluber, the best pitcher in baseball for a 5-year period, and now he's gone. And he's not a Hall of Famer, but he was hands down the best pitcher for at least a 3-year stint.
That's right. And Cliff Lee, and we can go on and name your pitchers, but a pitcher starting off now, and I don't know how many wins Paul Skeens has. Let's just say he has 10 wins. Is he going to win 290 more?
No. It's certainly not in Pittsburgh.
Besides,
Maybe in New York.
Let's be very real about it. Certainly.
I mean, they only have to win every fifth game. I mean, to
Right.
go 1-4. So at the end of the day, terrific player. I hope he has a great career, because when he does, when he has a good career, that's great for the card hobby, and it gets people collecting his cards. But if we hit that card, I'm taking that Pirates deal.
Yeah, all day.
Not because I don't want the money up front from giving it to Golden in an auction, because that would be nice. But I think that, and this is just speaking as purely having a card shop or whatever it is that we have. The amount of other things that we can do with those tickets and a softball game would, for us, would be hands down the right option.
Yeah.
Is it the right option for a guy that has a couple kids and he's got a family to feed and can use a couple $100,000? No question. We could use a couple $100,000 too, of course.
Right.
No question as well. But
there's different arguments into whether they should be opening.
That's right.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, the experience to me would be awesome. I would take the experience all day long.
Uh-huh.
I think I would take the assets too. So, Adam, thank you as always for your insight and your education for the hobby. We look forward to seeing you again week over week.
Thanks for having me, guys. Night.
See you tomorrow.
Go Cavs.
Go Cavs.
Go Cavs. So,
gonna make it happen.
Yeah. You were talking about on-card autographs. You want to tell people where they can actually find some on-card autographs?
That's right. GreenieCards.com. That's a perfect segue. We announced this last week. Our NIL card division is up and running, and I believe we have 24 student athletes over 5 different schools right now, and all their cards are up for pre-order on GreenieCards.com. There's the entire Cleveland State basketball team, and then we have student athletes from Akron. We have Ball State, and then a couple individual student athletes from Wright State and Purdue, and Olivia Brown and Reagan Bass. But all of these cards are available for pre-order, and what we're doing, which is different than a lot of people, is once these cards get pre-ordered to a certain date, I think we have till December 2nd. We're going to get these cards in the hands of these student athletes, and they're all going to sign the cards. There'll be video of that, and you'll be able to see that they all have signed these cards, and then we'll get them in the hands of the customers. So I think it's something different, and it gives you a unique experience, with each one of these student athletes that, you're not going to get anywhere else. So, I know that there's other on-card autographs, absolutely. But being able to pre-order and order the exact person that you want is different than opening a pack and hoping that you get that person.
That's right. And this has only just begun to scratch the surface. Of course, GreenieCards.com went live last week with this first batch of student athletes. You've got some of the other cards up there as well. Hannah Hidalgo and Sonia Citron, who Sean mentioned earlier. Reagan Bass in an Akron uniform. That's going to be a collector's item because she's moved on over to Purdue at this point. But as you mentioned, plenty of those cards from Akron, from Wright State, from Cleveland State, and very, very cool. So
and now while the Notre Dame one isn't a pre-sale, but that is from our event last year, and we do still have some cards of that team. And you said Hannah and Sonia and Maddie, and you can buy a full team set, or you can buy individual players. Just is whichever you prefer. And that's the thing with some of these, you don't know who the next Hannah Hidalgo is going to be, or Caitlin Clark. And we have some teams here locally that have some really good players that you just never know what their careers can do.
There's a pretty cool card here too that we're not going to name any names, but you might want to take a really, really close look at who's guarding Sarah in this picture.
That's right.
That's pretty cool, and there might be another one of those floating around as well. But yeah, hop on over to GreenieCards.com. not to be confused with GreenieSportsCards.com, where you've got plenty of information on the upcoming shows and some historical stuff and
I
lots
will
of good
tell you,
stuff to
Jeremy, that if
look
they
through
do
as well.
go to GreenieSportsCards.com to the shop, it'll actually direct them. It'll redirect them to the Greenie cards. So
That's right.
So,
So multiple
yeah.
ways to get there. And then the really cool thing about this that you're doing, Greenie, is it's a pathway for these student athletes to earn some revenue on their name, image, and likeness. And so the proceeds, half the proceeds from the sales of these cards go directly to the student athletes to support their endeavors. And as we've talked about, the top of the crop at Ohio State and Alabama and LSU on the football teams and the basketball players at some of these schools at Kentucky and Louisville, they're going to eat, and they're going to eat very well. And there's no shortage of NIL money coming their way, but there are hundreds upon thousands of other student athletes across all these institutions, and particularly in the MAC and the Horizon League in our area. And whether they're baseball players or volleyball players or women's basketball players, they have an opportunity to make some money on their name, image, and likeness, and as they should. And there's a skill set that comes with this as well. It gives the students an opportunity to market themselves and get involved on their social media platforms and public relations. So it's a very cool thing, Greenie. So make sure to check that out. You're not just supporting Greenie Sports Cards, but you're supporting each one of these individual student athletes as well.
That's right. And that's what we wanted to do with these. I mean, it would be easy to just say, here, sign a contract with us and we'll make cards of you. And then we work to sell those cards to make our money back or even make a profit on that. But to be able to actually work with each one of these student athletes and what they don't know, like, so Jeremy, all these student athletes gave us these pictures, right? So they picked what they wanted on their own cards. And,
Right.
That's part of the process that's really cool is the relationships that we've built with these girls, and they are part, maybe not designing the card, but indirectly they are designing the cards with the pictures that they provided to us. And we're also giving them insight on how to market themselves, whether it's through a social media post, or if you were able to watch last week when we had Maddie on from Akron. And we're going to continue to have that and have some of these student athletes on our shows, or even if they can't make it because they have a game, we can tape an interview with them and broadcast that later. And there may or may not be another show coming to Greenie Sports Cards soon. So there could be other avenues for any student athletes, not just the women's basketball players, but any student athletes to come on and talk.
So Greenie Sports Cards, buying and selling, the NIL custom card division, and then the live events. And you mentioned that this would be a good time to talk about some of the upcoming events. This year went really quickly in hindsight, but you've got a couple more chances to get out and engage the community here locally. Talk about those.
Yeah, so while this is the 2025 schedule, we still do have a few left for this year, and we'll talk more about the 2025 here in a minute, but we still do have another Kirtland, and we have another Broadview Heights in December, as well as our Wednesday show in Twinsburg at the Glen Eagles Golf Course. So there are 3 more shows in December, and you can go to GreenieSportsCards.com and find all those dates. But we wanted to announce, and Haley, who's behind the board here, she actually created this flyer for us, and it's actually just, it goes in order for the entire year, starting with Saturday, January 18th in Kirtland, and all the way till December 20th in Broadview Heights. And we do have some different, and you can see that there is going to be a Monday show in January, and MLK Day we're going to do a show in Twinsburg at Glen Eagles, and then our quarterly Broadview Heights shows. And what's going to be different with Kirtland is we're going to take a little break in the summer. And summers are typically slower in the card world and family vacations. And then the culmination of the National Sports Collectors Convention, which was here in Cleveland last year, it's in Chicago. So we thought best to take a little bit of a break for the summer and let people gear up for that show. in Chicago, which is always the end of July, the last weekend of July, beginning of August. And then, we'll be right back at it through the end of the year. We'll have some other pop-up shows. There's one that's not on here. We have a show that we're going to run with another one of the local show promoters, Justin Federovich, and we're combining to do the Great Northern Mall. And that'll happen 3 times in 2025. And the first one will be in January, but we're trying to do some things different, and partnering with another local show promoter is something different. I don't know that you see that in different cities where two people, like, they say that we compete, and maybe we do, but at the end of the day, people are going to go kind of where they live, and they're going to go to the shows that they're familiar with locally. And we have some shows that are on the same dates, and it's completely fine. Doesn't mean that we're not friends, because we are, and that's where we're going to do a show together at Great Northern Mall. And I couldn't be happier to work with Justin on that. And the other shows that are in the area, we'll extend that to them. If anybody wants to work with us, we're more than happy to try to come together and bring different shows, not so much more shows, but different types of shows to the area.
Yeah, it's such a unique space. The industry has changed as we talk about. If you just want to buy cards, you could sit in your basement and you could find the cards and you can collect and you can kind of keep all that stuff to yourself or put it on the shelf. There's nothing that replaces the live experience, and still going and talking cards and memorabilia and sports with other people, and rifling through boxes and cards and kind of going on that treasure hunt. And I think there's something really special about finding something you may not even thought you were looking for, versus just surfing the web and clicking a button, and a week later it shows up in your inbox. That's
right. And we'll have plenty of those in 2025 for people. And this is the back of the flyer, and we print thousands of these flyers out, and they go out at every show. But what people don't realize too is we sell a lot online, and these flyers go out to, I don't know, I think we had over 20,000 packages that we shipped out last year, maybe even more than that. But so we print these out, and they go out everywhere. And you can see there's one little box there. It's for an insurance guy, Scott Stevens, who I've known my entire life as well. And this isn't so much a plug for Scott as it is, like, if you need the insurance, to definitely check him out. But we have the ability to market for people through some of the things that we do. So if you want to have your logo or your business on our flyer or on our show, please contact us. I mean, we'd love to talk to you about that. And the different medias that we have, whether it's the logo in the top of the corner, the big blue rock that you see there, or your name on a flyer, or believe it or not, our website gets a lot of clicks, and we can put links on there. So there's many different ways to advertise with us, and that we can do too. But 2025 is going to be a very important year, and a lot of people are going to like and see what we're doing.
Very, very cool. Somehow we've managed to fill an hour. I would be remiss if I didn't wish my beautiful bride a happy birthday today, to Melissa.
Very happy
November
birthday.
19th. And I wrote this elsewhere. I won't say her age, but any of you that are fans of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, she is now the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. So happy birthday to Melissa. So
Absolutely.
Greenie, it's always a pleasure rooting for the Cavs, rooting for all our sports teams, but really may the cards forever be in your favor.
Absolutely. And if anybody's going to be in Chicago, Adam and I will be at the Chicago Sports Spectacular this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, at the Donald Lee Stevens Center. So there's a plug for a card show that people fly into. Man, it's right by O'Hare Airport. It's a big show and a lot of fun to be at that one.
There you go. Our thanks to Sean Stiers, who joined us this evening from Notre Dame's women's basketball and the play-by-play call for the Irish. Thanks to Haley behind the board running things for us. And thanks to Adam for joining us with the collectible news. Greenie, the floor is yours.
Hey, that's it. We'll see you back next Tuesday, maybe, Jeremy. That's to be
I
determined.
think we'll do something Tuesday. So we will be back, and stay tuned. Find Alex on eBay Live starting at 9:00.
Perfect. Have a good night, everybody.
Come on, Cavs. Got to make it happen.